video is very important that you watch it all the way to the end because I will share with you a video of a trucker that came across a 15-minute city in Texas, which is Egypt. Do you rejoice that people Egypt in the land of Oz, but you will feel the awful anger Adonai, Joshua's sins for us, Joshua's exile for his sins will end at last, but Edom's never. So that these people are punished. That's when the Gentiles came into our lands and took our lands and imprisoned us and enslaved us. That's what the scripture says, that the Gentiles will be in our lands until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And then they're supposed to return our lands to us. But then the scripture says in later days, they're not going to want to return our lands to us, and they're going to want to take our lands and enslave us again. That's what's happening with Gog and Magog, Russia and China. And Daddy said that it's not going to work the second time around. So, okay, so in the reading of Isaiah 40, when he comes to gather his people, because the beast system is about to kick off, and he's about to gather his people, he cannot come into power until the remnant is removed along with the restrainer, which is the Ruach, when she comes to take the remnants away, and then he will come into power, which is Obama. It says, make a way for Adonai in the wilderness, right? To take his people. In the book of Revelation, the woman, she escapes where? Into the wilderness. Same thing, so Daddy is coming, the Ruach, to come and take her remnants with her. Okay, I shared her video before, so I will share it again. So I believe this took place in 2023, January 10. That's when Biden united Canada, North and South America into one. So America doesn't exist anymore, neither does the Constitution, because it's going to be a new digital constitution. So these ICE agents, they're here. There is just basically human trafficking. You don't need to stop for them because America is no more. And it's founded by who? The Rothschilds, the owners of our lands, the Vatican. So that's why they're only grabbing the indigenous of the Americas, because this is our lands and they have returned to us. And this is a better prime example of what I'm trying to tell you, because they're trying to do away with the Puerto Rican birthright citizenship. Why is that? Because we are not under colonial reign anymore. And they know that. That's why Puerto Rico is being filled up with these Jews. And all our lands are filled with them because they're trying to colonize us for the second time around, like the scripture says. Again, it's not going to work. Again, the second time around, a big earthquake is coming to America real soon.
This will probably be one of the most important videos I've ever put out. Did you know that the United States of America as you know it no longer exists? And I don't mean this theoretically. I mean this as in on January 10th, 2023, while no one was paying attention, Joe Biden signed away our sovereignty as a nation when he met with President of Mexico, Manuel Lopez Obrador, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Mexico City to sign the Declaration of North America. You can find the release on the White House website, wh.gov, which ironically right now has a photo on the front page of these three individuals I just mentioned. I'm sure once this goes out to the masses, they will reconsider being so obvious and bragging about what they've done. They've completed what their plan has always been, the North American Union, a declaration separate and outside of the Constitution. Their intentions have been to further give away American interests to organizations like the World Health Organization. It is what some people call globalism, a single market, a single regulator, a single currency, a one world government. It is critical that people in uniform, including law enforcement and military, understand that they are no longer employed by the United States of America. They are becoming mercenaries, working for a non-sovereign who is paying them to control us and stop us from securing our rights, freedoms, and borders. Unfortunately, they know that only a small number of Americans will read the Declaration, yet it spells out their intent of the role of government in all of our lives. Maybe I will read it to you in a future video, but here are some things that you need to consider. 1. If you have no country, what rights do you have, and how does one assert them? 2. What does the oath of office mean if your country no longer exists? 3. If you're fighting for your country and your country no longer exists, who are you fighting for? 4. If selected, non-elected people are making policy that destroys our country, then how and why are we supporting their efforts? 5. Who are we paying taxes to and why? 6. If you're abiding laws that never went through the legitimate process of lawmaking like this declaration, then what are you really doing? 7. If there are people that can take our livelihood through arbitrary rule like COVID lockdowns, then what else can they take from us? 8. If you were coerced, fooled, or forced to take the gene-mutating agents, what rights did you have? 9. What rights do we have now and moving forward? 10. What are we going to do about it? I can assure you that if you succumb to and abide by the replacement of a highly portable and recognized medium of exchange, i.e. cash, with central bank issued digital currency, then you will lose any ability whatsoever to control any single facet of life other than its end. How do we protect ourselves, our families, humanity, and its future from what is to come? The next pandemic is already in the works. How will you respond? Their motto is Ordo ab Chao, order from chaos. Please think carefully about not falling into the trap they've set awaiting prey. This is extremely troubling, and there is no help on the way. We must work together to save ourselves. We must work together to safeguard the American dream, the Constitution, our freedoms, and our future by ensuring the resilience and security of our republic.
Underpins a world order is always the financial system. I was very privileged. My father was an advisor to Nixon when they came off the gold standard in '71, and so I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the financial structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new one, the new accounting, is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. In my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. But also, this new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private, but what I see are superpowers introducing digital currency. The Chinese were the first. The US is on the brink, I think, of moving in the same direction. The Europeans have committed to that as well. And the question is, will that new system of digital money and digital accounting accommodate the competing needs of the citizens of all these locations so that every human being has a chance to have a better life? Because that's the only measure of whether a world order really serves.
Of European colonization. And notice that the countries that are most strongly in support of Israel are not just the United States. It's the United States, Australia, and Canada, the offshoots of England, Anglosphere sometimes called, unusual forms of imperialism. These are settler colonial societies, societies in which not like India, not like the British and Indians say, societies, South Africa is a little like this, or Algeria under the French, settler colonial societies in which the settlers came in, essentially eliminated the native population, also driven by religious principles, very religious groups driven by Christian Zionism. Those are major cultural factors.
White nationalism, and I'm going to explain why. It starts with this painting right here. The painting is called American Progress, and it was painted by this man, John Gass, in 1872. There are a lot of aspects to this painting, so let's break it down. The first thing is this angel lady. Her name is Columbia. She is the female personification of the United States as a whole. Now, she is floating westward, and in her hand, she has a school book. She's bringing education. And behind her, you will see that there are settlers. They are bringing farms, trains, and industry. But in front of her, you will see things that are being driven away. There are Native Americans running from her in Buffalo as well. When the United States was moving westward in order to get rid of the Native Americans, they hunted the buffalo almost to extinction for the sole purpose of starving Native Americans. And they did it because of a concept known as manifest destiny that says it is the God-given right of white people to settle America from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. And they have the right to do anything to anyone who gets in the way of their God-given progress. So when the Department of Homeland Security posts things like this, what they're saying is, we're proud of what we did in the past, we're progressing now, and we're ready to do it again. It's the loudest dog whistle I've ever heard.
How are you feeling about England playing Senegal or DR Congo next round?
We've colonized them once, we'll colonize them twice.
Otay Mesa. I'm here at the Otay Mesa concentration camp as they're about to transfer some slaves. And I mean that in the most literal sense of the word. They force people to work inside there. They capture people to be slaves. It is forced unpaid labor by people who haven't even been seen in front of a judge. It's not a fucking prison because none of those people inside there have been charged with crimes. Those people got picked up off the street, kidnapped off the street, forced into detention, have not had the access to a legal process, and now here they are in these buses transferring slaves from one concentration camp to the next. Now, I guess you may be asking yourselves, why do they transfer people? To make it so they don't have access to their lawyers, so they don't have access to their family, so they don't have access to resources, and they do it because CoreCivic makes billions of dollars by doing this nonsense. Every person inside this slave bus, every slave inside this bus right now is more money for CoreCivic. Every slave inside this bus is extra of your taxpayer dollars for CoreCivic. They are using the system to make billions and billions of dollars while Americans go hungry, while Americans lack health care, and they are transferring these people not because they need to be transferred, but because the torture is the point, because the atrocity is the point. They are doing this because they make more money off of it. Wake the fuck up, America.
What is a civil war? Civil war is an armed conflict between organized groups within the same country. That's ICE right now. In the reading of Jeremiah, this is the fall of Babylon. This is happening right now. A civil war as the governors of Babylon fight each other. So that's a civil war that's happening right now. It's just going to get worse. And it tells you, just as Babylon killed the people of Joshua, so must she be killed. So you're watching and witnessing the falling of America. So what was wrong with the old system? What was wrong with paper currency? Why do you need a new ID? Encrypt the money, right? Because it's to enslave you. And it's interesting because the word, it says real ID, and it reminds me of the word Israel, because it has the word real in it. Because they're the one that runs this matrix, they run everything. So this is the view of Ezekiel's temple. As you can see how it looks like a chip, a microchip. Because you know that Daddy's presence is inside our body. We're at the temple of Yahuwah. So what they're going to do is they're going to connect us to these smart cities. So we're going to be running these smart cities. We're going to be connected to the beast. That's why they're doing this. And what is AI? AI really stands for alien intelligence. The Borg. I'm going to explain what that means. So what is it? A Luciferian force. An energy that's throughout the universe, a portion of the Creator that believes to be separate from the Creator, thinks he can overtake the universe. This is what they're going to connect people to. These smart cities are run by AI. AI in the Old English means to hurt, to cause pain. Bill Gates is the one that says that in the future, in the near future, that it's going to be AI doctors and AI teachers. So meaning the doctors and nurses will determine who lives and who doesn't. And this is the one that said that he met up with Epstein and said that he wanted to get rid of the poor of the world. And this is the one that says that they're going to determine who lives and who dies. So put one and two together, guys. So this is the COVID 5G chart, and there goes Gates. Bill Gates. Remember Borg. Remember I told you Borg, so keep that in mind. Hospitals, thank you, heroes. For what? And that's a track and trace system. You see? Enslavement of humanity, AI through Borg mind. Like I showed you in the Luciferian Force, it said Borg mind. Planetary harvest, dark transhumanism agenda. So the reason they're getting rid of the red nations is because we got our lands back and we're the rightful owners of the land. So in order for them to be able to do the smart cities and enslave humanity, they have to get rid of the rightful owners of the land. Just in case you guys haven't figured that out. Okay, so you said to see presidential election, but here it says second wave. The second wave that's coming. And the Space Force. I will be coming back to the Space Force in a second. So it says, you see, when you see Trump in office, you will see what? The National Guards and martial law. So prepare for it. And it says AI takeover through what? Smart cities, smart devices. And again, the Space Force right here, that is your reptilian, Anunnakis, and Greys. And who was the one that introduced the Space Force? None other than Trump. So the Anunnakis, that's who's running this right now. And who are the Anunnakis? Dracos, reptilians, Enki, and Light Satan.
Lady Gaga was a perfect match. She really pushes the boundaries as an artist. She really wants to do new things that other people haven't done. And we also, as Intel, want to push the boundaries. So we thought, okay, we've got technologies that we can apply to this. We can take Gaga's creative inspiration and we can integrate technology with her. Lady
I have the potential to imagine the unimaginable. Think the unthinkable. See the unseeable. With technology at my fingertips. I now have the ability to invent the uninventable. Rebranding into its future, Intel has enlisted House of Gaga to collaborate on a project that will showcase technology through creativity at the highest level. Our partnership will culminate in a performance that inspires to remind the world of the seed of innovation, the wizard behind the curtain, the mind behind the machine.
I don't want to alarm you guys, but look at this. So Trump is going to be there, Carney is going to be there, and many other actors are going to be there. And there's one who says the idol worshippers have to be beheaded. Me, I know that since 2018. But Canada and the United States, they have thousands, not millions, guillotine, 5G guillotine, waiting for us.
A trucker somehow stumbled into America's first 15-minute city, and it's being built right now. It's in Frisco, Texas, and people are shocked to learn the details.
This is what I mean, ladies and gentlemen, about a smart city.
Turn left into the parking lot. Then you will arrive at your destination.
These apartment complexes will have everything that you need. Grocery store, daycare center, hair salons, you name it, it's going to be here. Doctors, you name it. So you really have no reason to go anywhere else. And as I said before in other posts, they want you comfortable being uncomfortable. Look at this project. I am actually on site at this facility, this new 15-minute city that they're building. And as I told you guys in the previous post, I own a trucking company, and my purpose of being here is that we deliver the lighting for this place. And this is how I learned that this place actually existed. So these are the lights that I bring here every week, twice a week, for this monstrosity of a complex. So it's just not, I'm getting pictures from somebody else. This is actually a real place that I'm at. This is in Frisco, Texas.
Now, to his credit, he tried to warn people about the dangers of this experimental housing development.
You will own nothing and be happy. The price of homes will be so expensive that you can't afford a home. And this is where you will end up at. A true 15-minute city with thousands of people on top of each other, paying what's equivalent to today's mortgage. Thousands of dollars. Do you want this to be your final happiness?
In his comments section, there are people defending these 15-minute cities, but you only need to look at other smart city projects to see where this is going.
Imagine you can only travel for 15 minutes, buy 3 items of clothing a year, fly just once every 3 years to Europe, and never eat meat again. That's part of the 15-minute city plan that sounds so great in the glossy brochures. I'm Dr. Rennie. Free driving days a year through traffic filters, plus 25 for the congestion zones. If you go over it, cameras catch you, the DVLA data is harnessed and IDs you, and fines hit your mat.
You thought Flock was bad? How about cameras covering every inch of the city you live in? And how about wearable devices that track your personal carbon footprint in real time?
Their diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
So if God's mark is to have his commandments on our heads and our hands, we're thinking about them and we're doing them, what is the mark of the beast? What is he going to put in our heads and on our hands so that we're doing the beast's work all the time? Apparently, there's even a supercomputer called the Beast, and it's located in Brussels, Belgium, and it is very hard to find details. When we start to look at AI processors, we start to see tablets everywhere, and the tablets are put together into cubes. So just like our Heavenly Father had tablets that he gave us information on, the information on how his world works, the Beast is going to create tablets of artificial information. Artificial intelligence. It's fake. Artificial means fake, you guys. So Moses went into the cloud to get the commandments and bring them down the mountain to the people. And then later on, he puts them in the ark, and the cloud would appear above the mercy seat of the ark in the cloud. Now we have these cloud servers that make these cube-like containers. Just like the ark, when you put the two tablets together, they would form a cube. These are forming cubes. The commandments were written on sapphire stone. The main company that creates the computer hardware that gives you your graphics cards worldwide is called Sapphire Technology. And if you think this is just a coincidence, stay with me. The very first computing machine was called a NIM. Now, it didn't have artificial intelligence yet, but it was the basis of this NIM game that created the very first computer game, which was the Nimrod game. And that was the first instance of artificial intelligence that we saw. Nimrod. They named it Nimrod. From my very limited understanding as to how AI works, it works in cubes. The simulation, or fake world, divides the world up into a set of cubes. The models the movement of fluids in those cubes and determines the interactions between the cubes. And so we also have to look at this picture of Yeshua, Jesus, being our living water, and then we have this fluid that is the living water between these cubes. It's all exact mirror images, but slightly off, slightly perverted, because they're the beast images. In case you don't believe me yet and you think I'm just a loony girl on the internet, what are these processes called? The processes that run these functions, they're called daemon processes. So to run the server, you have to have a process that's called a daemon running it. Could I make this up? Could I do this? Could I make this up? I couldn't make this up.
There are two of them. These are from our lab in Burnaby in British Columbia. From the outside, they look like giant black monoliths, big metal boxes, about 10 feet on a side, 12 feet tall. And they are powered, they have a fridge inside them, a refrigerator that cools these chips to almost absolute zero. Just a wisp, a fraction of a degree above absolute zero. Hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. Amongst the coldest and most isolated and extreme conditions that humans have ever been able to engineer. These fridges, interestingly enough, which are called pulse tube dilution refrigerators, have a thing called a pulse tube, which emits a sound roughly once per second, which sounds eerily like a heartbeat. So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time, quote unquote. So I'm using those words because the English language was developed before we had concepts to describe what these things actually are doing. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there, and now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip, which is a contraction of quantum bit. And that qubit is very much like a bit or a transistor in a conventional computer. It has two distinct physical states, which we call 0 and 1 for bit. In a conventional computer, these are mutually exclusive. That device is either one or the other, and never anything else. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to, until such time when you get to a chip like this, which has about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.